We're here to talk about, I think, a critical issue, important issue in regard to the safety of our roadways. Because we have a government system designed to keep American families on the road safe, but that system has been compromised. I'm talking about non-domiciled commercial driver's licenses that are issued across the country. So in plain English, this is a license to operate a massive 80,000-pound truck that's being issued to foreign drivers who are not U.S. citizens or lawful permanent residents. The process for issuing these licenses is absolutely 100% broken. It has become a threat to public safety, and it is a national emergency that requires action right now. This isn't fear-mongering. This is a serious business that entails American families and their lives. So this year alone, a series of horrific fatal crashes have been caused by dangerous non-domiciled CDL drivers. So I want to go through a couple of examples. I'll pull the first one up here. On March 14th in Texas, a truck driver failed to brake and crashed into a long line of traffic. This caused a 17-vehicle pileup that killed 5 people, including 2 children, and 11 were hospitalized. A post-crash investigation revealed a history of unsafe lane changes, ignoring traffic signs, and multiple violations of hour of service rules. I want to go to slide 2 here. On May 6th, in Alabama, a driver with less than 6 weeks of experience slammed his tractor and trailer into 4 vehicles stopped at a red light. He killed 2 people and he injured 4. He had previously failed his skills test for speeding in his skills test. The crash occurred on just his 3rd day of employment with his carrier. And my third example, this of course was the fatal car crash in Florida earlier this summer, and many in the media had reported on that. On August 12th, the driver who had attempted an unauthorized U-turn on the Florida Turnpike caused this crash. It caused a minivan to crash into his trailer, killing 3 people. The driver had a prior speeding ticket and was non-proficient in English. He had previously been issued a CDL improperly by the state of Washington. He now faces multiple counts of vehicular homicide and manslaughter. So again, in each of these tragedies, the drivers were non-domiciled. We have an obligation to keep the American people safe, and that requires action today. That's why under President Trump's leadership, we have launched a nationwide audit of non-domiciled CDLs to get to the bottom of what we think is causing this crisis. We've heard from truckers and safety advocates and news reports that something was seriously wrong. It was alleged that the open border policies of the last administration has led to an exploitation of our nation's trucking licensing system. So today, I'm here to tell you after our audit that those reports, they're all true. What our audit has already discovered should anger every single American. So here's what we've learned. We just want to walk through it. First, our audit revealed a systemic breakdown among states to follow the law and issue licenses properly. States are failing to follow even the most basic procedures. We even uncovered widespread procedural errors, computer programming flaws, and a gross lack of oversight in the states that issue CDLs. This means that thousands of licenses that should never have been issued actually were issued. States are issuing licenses that extend months and even years beyond a driver's lawful presence in the U.S. This is a direct incentive to stay in our country illegally beyond their authorized work permit. They have driver's licenses. So in some disturbing cases, they have failed to validate a driver's lawful presence before handing them a commercial license. It's deeply disturbing, but even worse. Our second finding was that the current federal regulations are allowing dangerous, unqualified drivers on American roadways. This means that even when the rules are being followed, dangerous individuals who shouldn't be near a big rig are getting behind the wheel and causing crashes on our roadways. Eligibility requirements are deeply flawed and they're way too broad. They are simply not strong enough to prevent more of these horrific crashes from occurring in America. The system, it's failed, and it's a national emergency. So the combination of a catastrophic failure of states to follow the law and a broken system has created an imminent hazard to American travelers. That is why today I'm announcing two immediate major actions. Number one, we're issuing an emergency rule that fundamentally overhauls who is eligible for a non-domiciled CDL. These tighter federal standards, they're going to keep Americans and families safe on our roadways. Now, this is not a proposal. This is a final rule, and it is effective immediately. Jesse's going to go through those details in just a little bit, but here's the bottom line. Non-citizens will not be eligible for a CDL unless they meet a much stricter set of rules. Second, all states must immediately pause the issuance of non-domiciled CDLs until they can comply with our new rules. My message, it's very simple. Get into compliance now. And we'll force you into compliance. Nowhere in the country have we found a more egregious licensing situation than in the state of California. That's why the second action we're announcing today is an additional enforcement action against California. So for 2 weeks, FMCSA investigators were on site in California actually looking at their records. So we took a random sample. Investigators found that more than 1 in 4 non-domiciled CDLs were issued in direct violation of federal safety standards. So let's just put that another way. Over 25% of these licenses, they were issued illegally. So let me give you some examples. So on this slide, this is driver PND from Brazil. So California gave him a CDL with endorsements to drive a passenger bus and a school bus that was valid for months after his legal presence in the U.S. had expired. They put an authorized driver in a position to transport our kids on a school bus well beyond their date of work authorization. Number 2, this is driver JHB, a citizen of Mexico who is ineligible for a non-domiciled CDL. Mexican and Canadian drivers, or citizens, I should say, are not eligible for a U.S. CDL. California gave him one anyway, with a doubles and triples endorsement that expires more than 3 years after his work authorization ends. And so to be clear, we have a special relationship with Canada and Mexico, where if you're a citizen of one of those countries, you have to get a CDL in Mexico or in Canada. You can't come to the U.S. and get a U.S. CDL. So this license completely violates the rules, number 1, and number 2, expires after the work authorization. So 2 violations with this license. The third example, this is driver MOC, who is also ineligible as a Mexico citizen. California issued that license that expires more than 4 years after his work authorization ends. Again, another example where the clear rules say this driver should not have a license. And example number 4, this is driver ASV from Honduras. The DMV had no evidence it even bothered to validate his lawful presence before issuing a commercial license with tanker and double triples endorsements. So again, they don't even validate that he has a work authorization and should be issued a license in the United States, and California issued that license anyway. The work document that they had on file had been expired for 4 years, and they issued the license anyway. They didn't know if he was here illegally or not. They didn't validate it. They didn't verify it. It's shocking, and this is an unacceptable failure. It shows a reckless disregard for safety in California, and they should be ashamed of themselves. So California has 30 days to fix this. And by the way, we all know this, but if you get a CDL in California, you don't stay in California. You can drive nationwide. And so those California licenses are driven on roads in every single state in this country. And again, putting American families, American drivers at risk because of the bad action in California. If California doesn't comply, we're going to withhold federal highway funds. It's going to start at $160 million in the first year. We're going to double that in year 2. I want to close with this. This is not the ending. This is just the beginning. Our team identified non-domiciled CDLs that were issued improperly in Colorado, Pennsylvania, South Dakota, Texas, and in Washington. Those states should know that enforcement actions against them are forthcoming. And we expect the list of states to grow as our nationwide audit continues.
Of the changes in the rule and direct you to the FMCSA will be providing a more extensive breakdown of the changes in the rule. But generally it does 4 things. The change in the rule tightens eligibility. An employment authorization document alone will not be sufficient to obtain a non-domiciled CDL. Eligibility will be restricted to individuals who have lawfully entered the U.S. under a narrow set of verified employment-based visas, specifically and only H-2B, H-2A, and E-2. Secondly, the rule mandates verification. As Secretary Duffy had highlighted, there are many instances where states are not even verifying the underlying immigration documents. But they will now be required to use the Federal Save Immigration Database to verify an applicant's lawful status for every single issuance and renewal of a non-domiciled CDL, no exceptions. Thirdly, there'll be a shortened renewal requirement. The license will now expire when the driver's employment-based visa ends or in 1 year, or whichever comes first. This will safeguard against the reckless practice of issuing licenses long after a driver's authority to be in the country has expired. And finally, this rule will require in-person renewal. All renewals must be done in person, which will prevent automatic renewals by mail. Just to give a little bit of require in-person renewal. All renewals must be done in person, which will prevent automatic renewals by mail. Just to give a little bit of perspective on the impact of this rule, it's prospective, not retrospective. So it doesn't affect the non-domiciled CDLs today. And that amount is about 200,000 and 20,000 learner permits, which is about 5% of the overall CDLs that are issued, about 3.5 CDLs for interstate commerce. The impact of this rule under the current rules would effectively remove about 190,000 of the non-domiciled CDLs. So it will be significant.
We'll take your questions in just a moment. I want to give one point of clarification. So this is not retroactive, and not because we did not want to make this retroactive. This is prospective. If we can find a pathway forward to make it retroactive, we will, because we're very concerned about the issues that have been issued over the course of the last several years. And so that's issue number 1. But issue number 2, we all saw during COVID how important our truck drivers are to moving supplies, goods, food throughout our country. And we've had a lot of conversations. This is not about the movement of goods. It's follow the law, number 1. But we have a lot of drivers who are U.S. citizens who are ready and willing and able to take these loads. And so this is not going to impact the flow of goods at all. We don't need non-domiciled CDL drivers to carry loads in America to make sure our goods travel throughout the country. We have American drivers who are, again, ready, willing, and able to take those loads. And so, again, we're going to force compliance with the law, but this has